Hello, everybody. My apologies if I get electrocuted by lightning. There seems to be, I don't know if you can see that, a thunderstorm approaching. I don't know if it's approaching or going the other way, but we'll see. So, anyway, I want to do a Star Wars um, kind of talk about what I feel about why a lot of Star Wars shows that are coming out, everything from Obi-Wan Kenobi to the Mandalorians. What was it? The latest season they came out with, and why they're getting picked on heavily. And I don't know if this came out before the show I'm gonna bring up, but also the Book of Boba Fett, which I thought all three shows were excellent and in their own right. But they're getting picked. A lot of these shows, these new shows, are getting picked on because everything is being compared to Star Wars Andor, the prequel to Rogue One, and I don't think it's fair. The reason everyone really, really loved Andor, and I did too, it seemed more adult. It seemed more mature. I mean, it had more violence. It had there was a scene where the female character, I forget her name, was getting out of bed. You assume they had sex or something, but she was in her underwear. We've never seen scenes like that in Star Wars before. I mean, that's like an almost HBO level for Star Wars, and there was violence. I mean, there was a scene where they basically lobotomized her with a electroshock thing, and just really crazy violence, like almost like what the Nazis were doing with torture and stuff. It was pretty heavy stuff, and I guess after that show, everyone just assumed every Star Wars show was going to be like that. Every Star Wars show is going to be an adult themed show, and every subsequent show when it doesn't come out, when it's so now everyone expects every Star Wars show and movie to be like Andor, to be like adult, dark, you know. And I will also say, by HBO, I don't mean like Game of Thrones, like pornographic almost. I mean just more adult, you know, more showing more than they've never shown before in a Star Wars thing. I mean, I don't even think we've ever seen anybody in their underwear in a Star Wars show, let alone getting out of bed when someone, insinuating that they had been together in the movie or show. So it was that was a first. So it was more adult, and just now people just expect everything to be like that, everything to be dark and gritty and adult, and I don't think it's fair to judge everything by that. One of the things I love about Star Wars is its diversity. There's gotta be diversity in Star Wars for it to work. I mean, everything from the Rebels to the Clone Wars um to the Bad Batch to I love their more children's fare, like the Lego stuff. The Lego Freemakers was great. All the live action TV shows, everything from the Book of Boba Fett to all the Mandalorian seasons to Obi-Wan to, I mean, everything's been great so far in my opinion. I've had a really good time watching it all, and call me a homer, but I loved it all, and I'm not gonna sit here and say, well, this isn't like Andor, so I'm not gonna like it, or I'm not gonna judge it the same as Andor. And it's to me it's all good. It's all good stuff, and it's unfortunate in a way. I don't like Andor because of what it's doing to Star Wars. The fact that it's making everybody think that everything has to be as dark as Andor, or we're not going to accept that as Star Wars. And that's not what Star Wars is about. Star Wars initially was diversity, but also for families. And is it okay to occasionally have a show like Andor? Yes, but to expect every show to be like Andor and to have that grittiness and adult. I've heard complaints saying it's like CW fare, like teeny bopper stuff, like tweeny stuff, and I'm like, no, it doesn't. This new show, this new acolyte, none of it does. It all feels like Star Wars. It all feels like it fits in the world. I mean, if you're gonna say that, then say that about the prequels, and say that about the sequel trilogy, then say that about any of the movies. Say that about the Han Solo movie. Say that about everything. Maybe and then with the movies, I think everyone's favorite is Rogue One, but that wasn't as adult. It was more like Star Wars, so that didn't get as scrutinized. Everything that came after it didn't get as scrutinized, but it was a fan favorite amongst people who like Star Wars. And all I'm gonna say is, if you're out there, if you're listening, if you're watching, whatever, and you are not liking the new Star Wars because you don't think it's as dark as Andor, please don't judge it for that. Judge it for its own thing. Everything is different. There has to be diversity in Star Wars. And that is going to be what I'm going to say today. So thank you, everybody. And also, Yankees lost last night.